So you want to jump timelines. You're ready to step into a different version of yourself, where you already have what you desire, where you're already living it. And you can. But to do that, you need to understand the deeper structure of this universe. You need to understand the mechanism of reality creation. Impressions are being fed into your system automatically on autopilot by your sense organs. You see things, you hear things, you feel things, you smell things. Non-stop, you are picking up what they call karma in India. Memory is being picked up mostly unconsciously by your sense organs, and it goes into your database. You're picking up impressions, and these impressions are being fed into the pool from which your reality is being created. Based on the impressions you have taken in, your mind creates a map of possibilities for you. It's drawing an invisible line around you. It paints scenarios which are possibilities. It basically calculates what is likely to happen next in your life based on your past and creates that for you. Based on your analysis of life in terms of what you think is realistic, makes sense, is logical and possible. Look at your life right now. You're living inside a very specific pocket of reality. You exist in a town, a city, a country. You're part of a certain financial class. You hold a certain job, or maybe you're studying or in between things. Either way, you're in a defined position in the food chain of life. This is your current station. Now pause and ask yourself, what feels likely to happen to you next? What seems realistic? What would make sense given where you are? Maybe it's a raise at work in the next 6 months. Maybe someone you know recommends you for a small opportunity. Maybe your landlord raises your rent again. These are things that feel believable, right? They fit your current reality. And now ask yourself this. If I told you a billionaire would show up tomorrow and give you $10 million for no reason, does that feel believable? Logical? Does it make sense based on your current life circumstances? Probably not. So when people say, I really want to jump timelines, they actually mean, I want something that's drastically outside of what I currently believe is realistic for me. They want something that doesn't match the life they're in. But here's the catch. If you don't change the internal pool of impressions, your subconscious has no material to work with. It won't pick a new reality that feels alien. It will default to what feels congruent. If you want a quantum jump, you basically want to create something that's not congruent with your current life events, that's not realistic to who you are right now and where you're at right now in the material reality, and that's absolutely not logical. Now, let me show you the solution. If you want to create something like that, you need to feed impressions into your system. If you do not move to a different place, if you do not suddenly do drastically different actions, if you're just at the place where you're at, but you want something completely different, the type of impressions that come automatically from the external world will not help you to get there. So you need to create your own impressions, which you are feeding into your system with the help of your imagination. You basically have to see images in your head, and they have to be connected with sensory impressions. That means you have to feel, smell, touch, and hear them. And then your brain, there's no difference for your brain if you saw them with your eyes closed or if you saw them with your eyes open. And there's no difference if you actually experienced them in the three-dimensional world or if you just experienced them within your mind. So you are feeding completely new experiences into your database, and these have to be so realistic that it becomes almost logical to you that this will happen. It starts to make sense that this will happen. It starts to become congruent that this will happen because you've seen it so many times happen. You have felt it so many times happen. It's a familiar feeling at this point. And then you can believe that this will happen to you. Every reality you can imagine, already exists. You don't need to build it, it's already there. At the quantum level, the building blocks of this world, particles like electrons and photons, don't behave the way we expect solid things to behave. They exist in what's called superposition, meaning they don't occupy just one position, they exist in all possible positions simultaneously. Every path they could take, every state they could be in already exists as a cloud of probability. Now listen closely. When a conscious observer measures or observes one of these particles, the wave of probabilities collapses into a single outcome. The act of observing literally forces the universe to pick one path out of many. This is known as the observer effect. That means reality doesn't just exist independently. It responds to the one who is watching. You are the observer. Your attention isn't passive. It is the very force that determines which version of reality takes form. This is not poetic language. This is how reality behaves under a microscope. Every time you focus on something, especially with emotional intensity, you collapse possibilities into form. You are doing what light does. You are choosing which timeline solidifies. Now, apply that to your own life. In the fifth dimension, every version of you is already encoded. Successful you, lonely you, wealthy you, heartbroken you, they all exist as quantum possibilities. But you don't get what you wish for. You get what you consistently observe internally. That means what you rehearse in your imagination, what you emotionally accept as true, what you expect in the silence of your own being. That's what collapses into your 3D experience. That's why I keep saying you're not creating the future, you're selecting it. And selection happens through feeling, focus, and identity. You are the observer that bends the quantum field. Now, it is very important that you believe that your new reality is possible for you. How deeply you believe this new reality is possible for you comes down to one thing: your self-concept. Your self-concept is the invisible mold that shapes everything you do, feel, and attract. It's not just how you see yourself, it's the emotional blueprint of what you believe you're capable of, worthy of, and allowed to receive. And here's the truth: you will never rise above your self-concept. Not for long. You might get a temporary win, a moment of success or love or attention, but if that win is outside your current identity, if it contradicts what you subconsciously believe about yourself, you'll sabotage it, you'll lose it, or you'll feel so uncomfortable that you'll push it away without even realizing it. That's not because you're broken. It's because your inner system is designed to keep you congruent. The nervous system resists anything that doesn't match your internal settings. You can only sustain the realities that feel like home to your self-image. And that self-image, it's not fixed, it's programmable. Your self-concept is built from past experiences, memories, interpretations, and especially the emotional tone you've attached to those experiences. Every insult you believed, every failure you internalized, every moment you felt invisible, these didn't just hurt, they wrote code. Over time, you unconsciously formed an identity. You started saying things like, I'm not that kind of person, or, oh, that's not for people like me, or, I'm just not lucky in that area. And the subconscious accepted it without argument. But here's the breakthrough. Your subconscious doesn't care if the story is true. It only cares if it's repeated. The more often you think something, feel something, imagine something, the deeper it embeds. The brain literally wires itself to match your dominant internal narrative. You become neurologically allergic to experiences that don't align with that identity, and magnetically drawn to the ones that do. That's why when you try to jump timelines, your results will always be limited by the ceiling of your self-concept. So if you want to leap, you don't just visualize the outcome, you rebuild the self who lives in that outcome. You shift your inner thermostat. You rescript the role you're playing in this game. This doesn't mean repeating affirmations mindlessly. It means saturating your nervous system with new feelings. It means walking differently, breathing differently, thinking like the person who already lives in that life and doing it until you feel like home in that version of yourself. Because once that self feels familiar, reality rushes in to meet you. Now listen closely. This is very important. If you want to jump timelines, not just tiny shifts, but real, life-altering leaps, then it all really depends on three things. First, how deeply do you believe that this new reality is possible for you? Not possible in theory, possible for you. Most people hit a wall here because they try to evaluate their dream through the logic of the current identity. But the truth is, your current logic is a product of your past experiences, your conditioning, your wounds. It is not designed to carry you into the future you desire. So if you're trying to make sense of a massive shift, if you're waiting until it seems reasonable or probable, you'll stay stuck in the same loop. You have to go beyond logic. You have to override it. The key isn't to convince your current self that the future is realistic. The key is to become the self for whom that future is already normal. That requires a different kind of trust. Not blind hope, but embodied certainty. A quiet inner knowing that says, this is my reality now, even when the outside hasn't caught up yet. Second, it depends on how well trained your imagination is and how much your mind is under your control. Can you actually see yourself in that new life? Can you close your eyes and walk through it, breathe in its air, feel the texture of its detail? Most people never trained their imagination. They see it unconsciously to replay fear, worry, insecurity. But imagination is not a toy, it's a muscle. It must be exercised with precision. When you can hold a clear, emotionally charged vision of your desired reality again and again, it begins to take root in your subconscious. And the subconscious is what builds the bridge from the invisible to the visible. So if your visualizations are vague, flat, or scattered, don't panic, just practice. Set aside time daily to enter that world. Feel it, walk around in it, embody the version of you who lives there. Because the more real it feels to you on the inside, the faster it shows up on the outside. Now let's talk about this. How much is your mind under your control? This is the core of it all. Are you the master of your thoughts? Or are you being ruled by a chaotic, scattered, anxious mind that runs you on autopilot? Your ability to jump timelines depends on whether or not you can hold a thought, one single dominant thought, without collapsing under doubt. Because doubt is a creative act too. Worry is a prayer in reverse. Every time you say, but what if it doesn't work? You're placing an order in the quantum field. Every time you say, what if this is too big for me? You're selecting the old timeline again. You must become ruthless with your intention. That doesn't mean suppressing every stray thought. It means you have the strength to choose which thoughts you feed. It means you stop rehearsing the worst and start rehearsing the truth you want to live in. You catch yourself when you drift. You come back to the vision, and you do it 1,000 times if you have to. Because that is the power of a focused mind. And that is the kind of mind that collapses timelines instantly. So if you want to jump, it's not just about the desire. It's about your inner clarity, your mental discipline, and your ability to feel the future before it arrives. That's how you unlock quantum speed. Third, it depends on how strong your why is. If you want a drastic change to happen fast, you need a strong reason behind it. That reason is what creates urgency. It's what tells your system, this can't wait. Without that urgency, your mind treats the desire like a wish, nice to have, but not essential. And that keeps your timeline slow. There are different types of whys that create urgency. Sometimes it's the escape why. You're in a situation that's become unbearable. Maybe you're living with people who drain your energy or mistreat you, and every day feels like survival. Maybe you're working 2 jobs and still can't afford rent or groceries, and you know this can't go on. Maybe you feel trapped in a country or environment that makes you deeply unhappy, socially, mentally, emotionally, and your whole system is screaming to get out. This kind of why creates fast momentum because your mind locks in. We're done here. Other times it's a timeline why. There's something you want and you feel like time is running out. Maybe you want to start a family, but you're getting older and feel pressure around your fertility window. Maybe you want to change careers, but if you don't start now, it will get harder every year. Maybe you want to build wealth or move abroad or do something bold before a certain milestone, before 30, before 40, before the baby arrives, before your lease is up. This why works because it gives your desire a deadline. That naturally speeds up action. And sometimes it's the mission why. You see something in the world that breaks your heart or lights a fire in you. Maybe you see people struggling with the same pain you went through and you could help them. Maybe you feel called to build something that would inspire others, a book, a business, a school, a new system, or maybe you feel like you've been hiding your voice and it's finally time to step up and share your truth. This why pulls you forward because it's bigger than you. It turns your vision into a responsibility. You know the truth. You're not here to chase your dreams. You're here to select them. But there's one thing still blocking most people from collapsing timelines quickly. It's the energy they carry when they ask. It's the desperate, doubtful, needy energy that says, please, just give me a little something. That energy doesn't collapse anything. It repels. If you want to manifest at goddess speed, you have to stop begging like a servant and start commanding like a queen. In the next video, I'll show you exactly how to shift from lack to authority, how to stop acting like the universe's side character, and start bending reality like the main one.